Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 30th day, last day of April here on the Real Sports Scope. Got the Mad New Yorker backstage. Going to talk about the Knicks. They look like they're up big right now, 60-19. And I want to say that's like a second quarter. If they can hold off here, we'll lead our 7 minutes and 11 seconds left on the second quarter. We'll talk about them. They have a path. I mentioned this a few weeks back before the playoffs started. Talk about that with the Mad New Yorker. Also, we'll touch on a little bit of the NBA playoffs. And also, could this begin the beginning of the end with Sean McVay era with the LA Rams? We'll talk about the Browns draft. Carlos made it. Mad New Yorker made a comment about them winning their division last week. Made a clip about that. We'll go over that. Go over their draft. Titans, Giants. Get his opinion. We'll talk about that as well. Jets drafts and see how we'll discuss how they played off. Plus the NCAA tournament. Want to add more teams and water this thing down. Not a big fan of that. So a lot of that coming up. We're going to try to get it inside an hour here. That's what I'm going to shoot for. So stand by. We'll take our first and only break. We'll be back here momentarily, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty, then we'll bring up the Mad New Yorker. She's got to be in a pretty good mood right now. Knicks 60-19 lead in the second quarter. Of course, you got to finish the game. Got a take on the Knicks, but what's your take on them right now? Have they been playing the last few games? Look like they've caught a hot streak, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, man. Happy Thursday. Hi to everybody out there. If you haven't yet subscribed to the show, check us out. We got mad takes for days, man.
Hot takes everywhere. You burn your fingers in these hot takes.
Tell you what, listen, the Knicks, they're hot right now, but they're one of the teams that, even though they won the League Cup this year, they came out, hot. They had stumbled upon a few games that they were inconsistent. They didn't have it together, and now I think the reality of Towns and his perception and persona is that he's got to be on the inside more than he is on the outside, which has been helping them. The Mikal Bridges, I don't. Yeah. We talk about it all the time, but it's like you're
a couple years now.
You're the biggest guy in the court, man. Take advantage of your height, and then when people are trying to keep you from being on the inside, then you take advantage of having your outside shot, right?
Yeah.
Like the Mikal Bridges thing, not sure when he's going to get out of this funk that he's in, but it was smart to bench him a little bit, give other guys time to from the bench to get on the court a little bit, and so just the ball movement is better. They're not taking crazy shots. Small things like that was hurting them. They're getting more offensive rebounds because they put in Mitch Robinson in combination with Cat. They used him as a power forward a couple times. And
that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good observation. I didn't notice that. Interesting. Yeah.
Those small things, having Brunson rest a little bit, and because they're already up by 10, those kind of things have been positive. I see that's been positive for the Knicks. I can't say that they're going to win a championship, though. I'm not going to jump on that grenade yet. But if they can keep the game simple and use their skills and abilities to the best, you could see games like you saw last week and then even today. Like you could see that they have the ability and the opportunity and the potential to win games and big games, but you can only the problem with them is they play big so much in so little time, where they're not playing big all the time and sometimes act like a small team. So you know, we'll see. It's basketball. You know, you got to win the game on the court. And for now, though, I feel like they can match up with any team. Really,
Yeah.
they just have to go out there and play as a team. You know, so
Yeah. By the way, I wanted to wrap the show up. I got to get up really early tomorrow, so I want to get it downloaded in time and everything. So I'm going to wrap up about 5 minutes early, inside the 8 o'clock hour or 9 o'clock hour your time. Just want to let you know that, and the audience know that beforehand. That being said, back to the Knicks. Listen, they take care. I mean, this would be a monumental collapse if they lose tonight. They're up 40 points, man. You got to win this game. You got to take care of business, stay on the gas, win this game. That being said, I think they will, of course.
yeah, I mean, if there's any team that can lose it, it's the Knicks. To be
The
honest,
Knicks can blow. Yes, they can screw up a free deal sometimes. So, you know, you look at Boston. They've lost a few games, coughed a few games up to Philadelphia. They're going right back into their old habits of being three happy. You start to look at the way the Knicks are playing. I think the Knicks can really have a good shot to beat them again this year. They're just so passive with that three ball. With the emergence of Mitch Robertson and, like you said, playing cat on the inside. I noticed this the other day. They're playing more team defense. They're communicating more on the back end. I saw that the other night when they played in Madison Square Garden. So if you look at that, and then you look at the fact that the Detroit, they're playing for their lives right now against Orlando in that series, which Orlando's still got the edge right now. And then you look at Cleveland and Toronto. That's a dogfight. There's a clear path for the Knicks to get to the finals. And as I brought up to you about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks, how well that they match up with the Spurs. You go to the West, Denver has a lot of injury. Well, they have Aaron Gordon's injured. Minnesota's got multiple injuries. Okay. They're going to play San Antonio. San Antonio's primed and ready for that matchup. Oklahoma City's probably going to play either Houston or LA, probably be LA. And it looks like that you've got OKC and San Antonio, which San Antonio folks, they have owned OKC this year. That's Stephon Castle. This guy is a well of a defender. Him on SGA. And then that could potentially be a Knicks-Spurs matchup, which the Knicks on the Spurs, they 3-1. Mitch Robertson is a great matchup against Wemby. So this is a path for the Knicks to potentially win a championship. That's saying a lot because we didn't even get the second round yet. Injuries are going to happen. What do you think about a potential scenario like that?
listen, one game, you know, one game at a time.
That's what the coaches say, but us, we like to look ahead.
yeah, no, and I see the opportunity, but again, if it's one team that can blow an opportunity, it's a New York team like the Knicks. So I just want to enjoy the basketball. I want to enjoy the competition, and I want to make sure that the team that's on this year's basketball court is better than the Thibodeau team that was on the court last year, and that they have a better success. Because they're only supposed to be getting better, not worse. And for a minute there, I just felt like I was watching the same team but with different players on the jersey. So, but I'm glad that they getting everything together, and I'm glad that they're being competitive and they're hoping their eyes to make it small. There's very small changes that they had to do, man, and it's and reaping a lot of benefits. And then also the defensive and offensive boards that they're getting, man, just helping them stay in the game. They have less fouls than they've had in the last 5 games. So these small things, there's stuff that these players can control, and they're making the changes, and there's upside to that. So. Yeah,
and it looks like Brunson's getting more rest. I noticed Josh Hart's really contributing There's another guy off the bench is similar to Josh Hart. I can't remember his name.
Clarkson or
I think so. I think so. Yeah. I think it's Clarkson. Yeah, the guy with the dreads.
Yeah, Clarkson's been good.
Yeah.
He's been in a little bit for Mikal Bridges, and then for Hart, it's been McBride that's come in. So
I like the way he's playing right now.
Yeah.
I like the way he played last Saturday.
Yeah, these guys are putting in the work, man, and that's what when you watch basketball and then you get these guys off of the trades and you see the camaraderie and the spirit of corps, that's what you want to see. You want to see them working together. You want to see moving the ball, and you want to see them that doing positive things and keeping themselves outside of being like 10 points behind, trying to catch up, then going back, and losing. That's the story of the Knicks all year, and they need to just forget that it happened. They're in the playoffs. It's a whole new season, and so just move forward.
Yeah, and I think it'd be good for the league if they could find a way to win this championship, man. Anyways, okay. You mentioned something, and I clipped it. By the way, I want to thank you and everybody else. Last week was a tremendous success. I had a lot of feedback on that. I probably got I know you may have seen me post them on Facebook and everything and on other social media, 6 or 7 clips from our draft show. And one of them was you putting in a hot take about the Cleveland Browns, that you think they can win the AFC North. And since that take, they've had a draft. And every analyst, I mentioned this on Monday's program, that I've read has either gave them a B+ to an A+. Some people said they had the best draft of others. Now, they didn't draft a quarterback. If you get a quarterback, people say, well, you got the best draft. But I particularly thought they had one of the best drafts in the league. Okay. And not to mention the fact, here, A+, the Athletic gave the Browns and the Jets an A+, the Giants an A, of course, a C- for the Titans, but go figure. That's a different topic. But
yeah, we all felt like that. Everybody on the panel, guys, if you haven't had a chance, go back and watch the show. Everybody on the panel who talked about Tennessee, who somehow or another has Tennessee on their mind, all mentioned the fact that they really did not take advantage of that position in that draft in the first round.
That was Athletic. Here's the NFL Network, A- from NFL.com. You were with me last week. Spencer Fano, right tackle, very good pick after a trade down at 9. Then they got KC Concepcion from Texas A&M. And at 39, they got Denzel Boston, which Tennessee could have got if they didn't trade that. They could have took Arvell Reese and took Boston from Washington with this guy, Emmanuel. They also had another second-round pick, by the way. Emmanuel Michael Warren from Toledo. I thought he was a first-round grade because I thought our guy that went to the Bears at 25 was going to go around 14 or something, or 15 or 16. Beforehand. And then you look at the fact that came out this week about the Cleveland Browns, that Deshaun Watson's healthy. He's listed as the number 1 quarterback. Their leading reporter here, Mary Kate Cabot, very respected team reporter, says she thinks he should be the number 1 quarterback. And you look at the fact with this coaching staff here, our guy, what's his name? Todd Monken, they could very well do this, man. I don't think that's a hot take. What do you think about their draft and the fact that the Browns are coming together potentially?
Yeah, well, listen, it's a hot take because I made it a hot take, man. You heard it here first. I was talking to the Pittsburgh fan, and I was saying to him, listen, it's not that I don't dislike the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's just the moves that they're making. And so, and I mess around sometimes, and I say that I made it hot, but at the end, when you see Monken do his magic, work his magic with quarterbacks, work his magic on the teams that he's coached, they're going to average 21 plus points a game. And if you got a quarterback that can be a high potential quarterback and has high ratings, he gets you 27 to almost 30 points a game.
Do you think it'll be Deshaun Watson that could potentially be back and starting? And this would be like a comeback player of the year type of situation.
If it's for Deshaun Watson to make up his mind and be the quarterback that he can be and that we've seen before at a high stake level and win this division, it's for him to give up that position. It's not that Shedeur Sanders is going to come up and beat him, because the thing with Shedeur is that I feel like he's very passive right now because, first of all, this is going to be his second year in the league, right?
Yeah.
And then he's got a coach in his ear saying, listen, we're going to coach you up. Bide your time. We know what we have in you. So Shedeur could be ultra competitive, right? Be ultra competitive and try to win this position. Or he could just sit there and be like, you know what? I'm going to get it anyways. Between Deshaun Watson having bad games and getting an injury or two, he's going to be in the football game eventually. So, it's up for Deshaun Watson. If he can get everything out of his head, be the quarterback that everybody thought he could be, the quarterback that they're paying him to be, this could be his job to lose.
Yeah.
So if he's right now the number one quarterback for Cleveland, then that's what it is. And Monkey knows what kind of quarterback he is. So he's going to play. He's going to make sure that Watson plays to his ability. You're going to see the rollouts. You're going to see him running for 3 or 4 yards. You're going to see the quick dumps. You're going to see the long throws. Deshaun Watson is not a terrible quarterback. The problem is
I was all for making that move to get Watson.
Right. The problem with Watson is that he couldn't stay healthy, and the problem with Cleveland was they didn't have a good O-line, and they didn't have much weapons. Now it's the other way.
They signed new players and hot shot rookies. Yeah.
Right. So again, the opportunity is there for Watson, and if he is not the number one quarterback by week, going in week 1 and by week 3, the Sanders will easily move in, and he would already have the mentality to be able to keep this team afloat. And that's how Monken coaches his teams.
Yeah, Monken's a good coach, man. This could be a Kirk Cinetti of the NFL situation. We've got an older coach. He finally gets his shot in his 60s. And, big things happen. I want to mention this to the audience also. Last year, they drafted guys like running back Quashawn Junkins, was a big hit from Ohio State, with Tennessee's Dylan Sampson, another very good running back. And then you throw in this guy, and I mentioned this the other day, this Harold Fannin Jr., this tight end, 3rd-round pick, he was really, really cutting up last year, doing well. A talented player they got in the 3rd round. So Andrew Berry, this general manager, he's a big analytics guy. He comes from an Ivy League school. A lot of these players are starting to hit. Some of what they're doing is starting to pay off. They're an interesting team to watch next year. And I'm not saying that for a hot take. I mean, they brought in the guys like Eldon Jenkins in free agency, Tevin Jenkins, Titus Howard. They've rebuilt the offensive line, and that takes a minute to get them working in cohesion. So that could be an issue. But they're going to have a running game here. And they've got multiple skill players with guys like Jerry Jeudy. Not to mention the fact we know their defense is good from last year. They never did move Myles Garrett. The Cleveland Browns could very well win that division. I have to look and see. The schedule comes out later on in May, who they play and when they play them and how that plays out. And we'll have to follow them throughout training camp and see who's actually 100% healthy. If Deshaun Watson, if he don't have a setback, you look at the Steelers, all their problems at the quarterback position, all the cap problems with the Ravens, who did not sign a center, and the defensive problems. Now Cincinnati should be able to take over. Hey, you got some defensive players here. You got the most talent. You got the best quarterback, but Cincinnati still might not have the depth. They're going to be an interesting team to watch, man. They're a real school of thought. Even though people were mocking you online when I put that clip out last week.
They can mock me all day long. At the end of the day, this is going to be one of the most competitive divisions in this year coming up, and that's thanks to the fact that there's a lot of transition going on between not just the players that are getting exchanged between teams, but also the coaching that's coming in, and the coaching that's coming in for the Browns is actually the better situation. This is not a Stefanski. This is more than a Stefanski upgrade, man. Stefanski was having trouble getting the offense going.
Yeah.
With the starters, and then he just kept playing Dylan Gabriel after we saw what Dylan Gabriel was for the first 2 games,
right?
And didn't give him any opportunity. And then by the time Shedeur Sanders came in, it was already too late. So, and mind you, Shedeur Sanders got. Now I know it doesn't mean much, but he got picked to be in the Pro Bowl. So I mean,
Yeah, and that's interesting. Okay, so what's your thoughts about? I guess we can start off with the Jets. They had the full draft last weekend. Thought they had a very good first start of the draft, but hey, listen, I thought they had a good draft a few years ago, but they didn't get the quarterback right, and they ended up moving off one of those players, which was Sauce Gardner, but they still got Garrett Wilson. So, but what do you think? What's your thoughts about last week, man? The Jets have completed their draft. They had a good draft. What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I feel like and I said this. I give both the New York teams a A minus B. And the only reason is like it still have to be something that goes on. These guys have to go on the field and fulfill the potential, right? It isn't. They hit on most of the positions that we're looking for. For the Jets, I was hoping them to solidify the offensive line. They had the opportunity to pick a lot.
I think they're pretty good there.
Yeah, but everybody needs more depth, bro. Like, and when you get to the game 8, 9 of the season and you got 1 or 2 old linemen that are out for whatever reason, you don't have depth, that can affect your playoff situation. So I like the picks that they made. I like that.
What about the Indiana players? Those guys really showed up in the playoff. Both the cornerback here, very feisty corner. People, I want to say somebody brought him in. It might have been John Restano. Said this guy's really him or Kevin Carroll, feisty little corner. Get him in a second. D'Angelo Pons,
right? He plays big for
Omar Cooper Jr., the leading receiver for Indiana.
Right. No, and even Pons, even when they talk about him, even Mendoza mentioned, and I heard this from a lot of the outlets, that when he mentioned his teammate on the defense, that he's one of the best defending cornerbacks and safety that he's played against and played with. So
yes,
when your quarterback says that means he gave you a lot of trouble at practice. And if you don't realize and you don't think that defense was any good, you see how the Indiana offense was able to play and be better and actually beat out some of the best teams, that was out there in the Power 5 conferences this past year. So
right. So I thought they did really well. They were one of the teams that I talked about last week.
I still don't. Yeah, and I think they can win up to 8 to 9 games. I think for this
Smith at quarterback. That's the thing. He's the big $64,000 question.
Yeah, well, he needs tools, and the Jets did a good job on bringing in they drafted another tight end, so they have 2 young tight ends now. They have the wide receiver locked down. They have the running back for the last few years that they have over there. So they don't and the O-line is what I wanted, more depth, that I thought that they would take advantage of, get more depth in. And so, but that's neither here nor there. Like you said, they already have a lot of guys on the O-line, but he has no excuse. Frank Reich has no excuse to make sure and see forth that this team can't score more than 21 points a game. The goal for me,
you think possibly a quarterback competition? They took Clemson quarterback Pay Kublik. Do you think he could possibly win this job this year?
No, I think the problem, and the Jets have always had this problem, which is why they got Frank Reich, was that they never had anybody in-house to actually develop a quarterback. They had coordinators, but they didn't have guys that could develop a quarterback. Frank Reich is a guy who can develop this quarterback. And if it was me or either someone on that coaching staff, I would just hold on to him to see he has a high potential. He has a lot of area for growth. He's rated as one of those guys that's actually pretty good at reading defenses. So I would try to see what I can get for him, and if it's something that he's not going to be able to fit what the Jets need, they can always move on for him next year. So I think that he's going to be one of those guys that are going to be try to sit in the sideline as much as possible, and you want to make sure that you have Geno Smith out there. He's a guy you're giving the money to on the playing. If there's any injuries though, you be sure that he's going to at least the quarterback can come in and have an ability to try to keep you in the games. Because you got enough tools out there to make sure that it's not about the quarterback. You can make sure that it's about the team making it an easier route for them to get offensive, a push and points on the board, man.
Yeah, and we all know that Geno Smith very likely to get hurt again. He hangs on the ball too much.
I don't know why.
I'm surprised that Kubik didn't play sometime this season, even if it's a game or two, to see how he showed a lot of flashes last year, or particularly the year before that. With Clemson.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how he plays in the preseason and how he catches on to this offense and this system. He may be to it like a duck to water. I mean, he may take to this so that they're going to be one of the more interesting teams to follow in the preseason with all these targets that they have, adding Omar Cooper and that tight end with an already very good Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. There's a little bit of hope with the Jets. I'm not sure about the head coach, but I'm liking some of the players that they're rebooting with. They're rebooting pretty quick. Now, we saw the rest of the Giants draft. What do you think about the Giants?
Again, another team in New York that did well during this draft. I was hoping that they would move a little bit and get more guys, but they didn't do bad with the picks that they got. They put a lot of eggs in the basket for the quarterback over here, Jackson Dart, and I'm not sure if he can feel that potential, but they're giving another go at it and giving him the opportunity. And now he can't complain. He's going to have O-linemen there. He's going to have a couple of tools out there extra. And then the defense is definitely going to make sure that they don't lose it for them. So, this opportunity, and you have a new coach that has a winning pedigree, but we'll see how that is going to transpire, the Giants coming out. There's a lot of positive energy for once. It's been a while since that has happened in New York. So, and I don't want to sound negative, but I think the same thing. I think that these Giants, they might get 9-10 wins. I don't think they'll go more. They might get a third place opportunity in a playoff opportunity, but I don't think they're going to be in a Super Bowl run yet. There may be still 3 or 4 players shy of that on both the offense and defense side combined. So
there'll probably be another draft and free agency behind. You look at, and I talked about the Eagles on Monday. Harry Roseman, they paying him the big bucks for a reason. I mean, that guy getting Malachi Lemon, they're going to ship out A.J. Brown after June 1st for salary cap reasons. That's the only reason they didn't move him out prior to it, for financial purposes. And then you look at the fact they've got a new offensive coordinator, an energetic guy, young guy they brought over from Green Bay. And they got Vanderbilt's Eli Sowers there in the second round as a tight end. So they're going to be tough. Dallas, listen, that player they brought in with Caleb Downs, the edge rusher from UCF, he is coming off shoulder surgery. Nick Saban said he was a little bit of a reach on a hot mic. He said that about Dallas, but Dallas has improved. This is going to be a very competitive division, and Washington got some defensive players. They got Sonny Styles, and they have a very talented quarterback. So maybe the Giants do. They got the coaching, maybe the Giants do something. But the competition is going to be really stout, man. I just think the Eagles still may be the edge there in that division, as much as I want to go against them because they're Eagles. They're kind of annoying. And Jamie didn't come on the program, so I guess I can really bash him now.
No, well,
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sure he was just busy.
what I like about the Eagles is they're doing themselves justice. They're being patient with the team building capacity. Being patient with the trading and moving off of players for contractual reasons. And it's it's something that they're still even ultra competitive and they're still going to be in the top of the division. And they're doing this. They're almost doing and having the same kind of workaround that the LA Rams are doing, right? Like they're on opposite ends of the United, of the states, but they're the way that
Of the country, yeah.
they have the coaching staff, they have uh, players that are foundational players, they have a quarterback that can win you games. The only difference for LA is that they have the older guy, and the Eagles have the younger guy, but now LA just turned it over, and now they have a new guy coming in behind behind their aging quarterback over there. So
Right. I said on Sunday, and I also brought Rich Ferris in from 104.5, the Titans flagship, that I thought the Titans did rebound. At the end of the show, you mentioned this, the fact that they did trade up of the 25th pick, and they got Kendrick Falk there back into the first round from Auburn. But they also made this trade for, what is his name, Anthony Hill Jr. in the second round, the linebacker out of Texas. So I thought they rebounded, and I gave them like a B- because of those other picks with and by the way, MGM did say, and not everybody dogged the Titans out. MGM said most improved teams this year. They mentioned the Jets, the Titans, the Raiders, the Commanders, who got a Okonkwo, and of course they got Sonny Styles. But they also mentioned Cincinnati. But Tennessee, they did get some good players, and then you add in the fact that all those free agents they brought in. I think they're going to be somewhat competitive. And Rich said, listen, hey, all these guys fit Saleh's system, and they fit Robert or Brian Duvall's system. What do you think about their draft, per se, after they made those other plays and traded up in the second and the first round? Those other two players really boosted the draft up, which looked kind of shabby after, taking Carnell Tate with the 4th overall pick.
yeah, man, listen, that was good on them to just get refocused and realigned and look to fulfill the needs that were important for them to bolster up on a defense and offensive side. Again, I like you. I thought they could even traded out of that pick and got more depth.
I hope so. That'd be great.
They still left. Again, a lot of guys left that Toledo safety there for a long time. He was highly rated, and I'm not sure what he didn't do that made him. The tape on him was good. He had a decent combine, and I felt bad for the kid, but he ended up on the team, and that's the most important part when you get into the draft, is to be on the team at the end of when the day ends. But the Titans, man, good job on the pickup, because I was. We were all kind of upset. Like, you have the opportunity of a lifetime, and it was almost like it was a blind pick, right? Like, let's just pick this guy. And the problem is with this pick that they have, he has to hit. He's going to get guaranteed monies, even if he doesn't hit anything in his contract agreement. Like, you're going to give this kid so much money it is what it is. He's on the team, and I just hope that he proves that he's more than deserving to be on the team, to be honest with you,
Yeah, Tate, we'll see what happens. I mean, Rich said that Kansas City was interested in him, possibly wanting to move up to get him, Tate, which I think that would have been idiotic on their part, because they needed corner and they needed right tackle as well. They should have took Spencer Fano. And like our guy Jason Patterson said from Pig Trail Nation, covers the Chiefs, Brett Veach's neck is on the line here. He's been missing out on a lot of players. And I thought that would have been a bad pick for the Chiefs to take a guy like Carnell Tate when they've already had a pretty decent receiving core that they've picked up as it is. If these guys can't run the routes, it makes no difference how many good receivers you got. You know, you got to have the quarterback protected up front, man. You know, so anyways, I wanted to play you this. This is interesting. This little tidbit about Sean McVay. I think that him and Les Snead are starting to butt heads a little bit. They're not going to say it publicly, but this always happens in championship teams where one guy wants the credit, the other guy kind of wants the credit, and egos start to, clash. And most of the time, the coaches give in to the coach, or the owners give in to the coach and give him more power and everything, and things start to go south. But listen to this clip here. This went viral the other day. This is somebody did like a remix of it on TikTok, but you'll get the idea. He's not too happy, it sounds like, about the Matt Stafford pick at 13. Listen up.
I think that at the end of the day, probably processing football, someone who can execute a passing offense, has mobility. So that's probably the macro. There's a lot more variables that go into it, but that's the macro, I would say.
Let's make one thing clear. This is Matthew's team. And you get a chance to be able to address, the backup quarterback. We've got Stetson. We've talked about the importance of Jimmy. So to be able to add somebody that you can evaluate a body of work where he was asked to play the position and a lot of things that do translate in terms of concepts, reading with his feet. But there was a lot of players that we liked, and there was a lot of thought that kind of went into it. We'll be excited to be able to get to work with him, and that's where we're at.
Okay. For the audience, Ty Simpson did say that he met up with Sean McVay weeks before the draft, and they talked for hours or whatever, discuss things. So there is some thought maybe he's kind of doing a little script playwright type of thing where he's acting like he's ticked off because he don't want to tick off Matt Stafford. I think he did want Ty Simpson. I don't think he wanted him at 13. I thought he wanted either Malachi Lemon, the receiver, or somebody that can help him this year, or one of those tackles at 13. And he wanted them to try to work out something. But the general manager side said, hey, listen, we don't think we could have got him later. Somebody may have snatched him, maybe your Jets at 16. And if we're going to hold this guy for a year, we need to draft in the first round so we can get that fifth round option. So that's the power struggle there. But if you're the owner, you do not want to keep that, give that edge to the coach. I saw it with Bill Belichick where the drafting starts to fall off a table. I even seen it here in Nashville when Fisher got more power. I read this over Floyd Reese, and he leaves, the general manager. They went from Super Bowl team to team started falling off a cliff, drafting guys like, your Vince Youngs of the world and all that. And then eventually he gets himself fired. So you don't want to give the coach too much power. It's worked early back in the day in the past. Now I don't think it really works out. I know it worked out with Bill Walsh, but Bill O'Brien did it. It was a total failure. Bill Belichick did it, start to fail. What's your thoughts about that situation? I got another thought on it, but I'm not going to be too long-winded. What do you think about that, man?
Yeah, I think what you see is what you get when you talk about that coach. And the thing that he mentioned was that he has Stetson Bennett, which I think he likes Stetson Bennett because he's young and he can do something. He's still got Jimmy
for a few years.
Yeah, and he still got Jimmy Garoppolo. He said that he still got Jimmy, and he said that Stafford is the quarterback, so he doesn't want another guy who's like that. Quarterback room is way too full, right? And the GM's telling him, "Hey, he should have just said we'll trade Stetson Bennett and Jimmy Garoppolo and try to get something, or cut them, and we'll have these two, and have two guys." Or maybe keep Stetson and have two guys. It's a full quarterback room. Stafford's still your number one. You could have moved you could have moved down to get this guy, and instead of picking somebody to help your team, you picking on the future, which you made a mistake on because you probably could have got him in the second round, and you don't have to pay him any guarantee money. You just messed up the structure of of your team by picking this guy so early that you mess up the structure of the money.
You're with Sean McVay on that argument, huh?
I'm definitely with Sean McVay. He's the one who's been winning Super Bowls, not the GM. Like, if you got this guy because you say he's an offensive guru, and he's been doing that and making your team a perennial playoff team, why would you not go on his word and be like, get this guy, we need this guy,
Right. Now, I understand your point. I mean, I disagree. I do think Les Snead made the right call there. Dan Orlowski, he was talking about, hey, listen, and we showed you some clips from Ty Simpson. This guy can thread the needle. There's a lot of big-time potential there with him. All that being said,
okay,
I would have been okay with that. Go ahead.
Question. Stafford goes down.
Yeah.
You have Stetson Bennett. You have Jimmy Garoppolo. And you have Ty Simpson. Who you putting in a playoff situation?
You probably put in the veteran there, which is Garoppolo.
Right. And you're already paying him money anyways. Then
now somebody's going to get cut. This happens every year.
No. Let's say
Garoppolo, then you come to 3.
Yeah, let's say Garoppolo gets hurt. He strains his leg because he is the older veteran. Got to need the next game. Who you put in, Stetson Bennett or Ty Simpson?
It depends on who they got. It'll be Simpson because Bennett will probably be gone. One of those players will be gone. It may be Garoppolo.
So, but what I'm saying to you is that he's still not going to be the first choice off the bench, even if he's picked tomorrow. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I get what you're doing. Like, he's trying to hoard for 3 years from now.
Yeah.
You didn't have to wait.
He thinks that 3 years could really be next year. They could win the Super Bowl this year, and then they got a guy who sit for a year, and then easy insert play 1 year on the bench, 1 year with the great quarterback guru, and go that matter. Here's my take on the whole thing. This is probably the beginning of the end with Sean McVay in this team. And just let me hear me out here. McVay's grandfather worked with Bill Walsh of the 49ers, okay?
Right.
His dad, I think, also coached or two, and I think his dad was a player also, but not a pro player, but he played quarterback. So he's 2 generations removed, okay? He's been there 10 years. He's on a contract year, by the way. Sean McVay. It's the last year of his contract. This is the 10th year, okay? I can see him making a decision, making this possibly his last year if they win the whole thing and just walk away, take a year off because he feels burned out, and then come back and play somewhere else or coach somewhere else or whatever. Take that year off through TV, okay? But if I'm him and I'm still feeling like, froggy here, and I'm still feeling energetic, maybe I try to stay a few years and do something with Ty Simpson just to show that I could do it with Jimmy Garoppolo, or what was the other guy? Jared Goff. I can do it with won the Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. And can I get to the playoffs, maybe a long run with Ty Simpson, and then work out that next contract and leave? That either way, he's got to have his exit strategy in effect. I've talked about this. Bill Walsh says 10 years, okay? The other coaches get tired of hearing you. Management gets tired of hearing you. It's good to move on after 10 years. My philosophy is, we talked about it with Tomlin leaving after 19 years or whatever. Same thing with, who was it? John Harbaugh getting fired from Baltimore. Same amount of years, 18 years or whatever. Things start to get stale. I think after that 10 years, you need to reevaluate yourself. This is a good time for him to reevaluate himself and make that move to put in an exit strategy to get a fresh start, to keep from burning out. Also, and to keep from the team to get stale, and for the fact that I would try to win a power struggle with Les Snead. I think he's a very good general manager. We see if he gets too much power as a coach. Talked about the Bill Belichick. We talked about Bill O'Brien. It does not work. It's too many. There's not enough hours in a day to keep up with both of those. This year and the future, this does not work. So that I think this is a bigger deal than other people saying it is. But I like to get ahead of these stories. Everybody else likes to talk about the here and the now and just say, hey, this is what we talked about back in 26, now in 28 or whatever. This guy's all of a sudden retired. Look what Sean Payton did. He saw what was going on in New Orleans, and now he looks refreshed with Denver, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that aspect of it where maybe they're just bashing heads because they've been working together for 10 years, and it's a highly competitive business?
Yeah, and you mentioned something, but I think the curveball is the ownership. That ownership would do anything for anybody to get into first place position to win anything. So ownership is
very good owner.
Yeah, so I think the you're right. Maybe the problem is you got a GM and he's being a little bit
butting heads or something with the
coach.
Being
not being on the same page and the same beat and on the street. So but if anybody's going to leave, it's going to be him. They're not going to fire him. So it would be him taking his talent somewhere else after maybe even, like you said, taking a break. But Sean McVay is one of those all energy guys he's smart. So if he leaves, it's because he's going to get a position somewhere that he wants, not a position that he has to be like struggling to win. So, I think he's just biding his time.
Yeah, he'll pick the litter. He'll take a year off through TV.
He's just trying to find out that he got the right owner because he's not just he don't want to be on a team that's just going to give him money, So
he's got to have a good owner, kind of like the situation with Sean Payton, where they got another good Walmart here that owns the Denver Broncos. It's food for thought. I think it's a real situation there. You could hit some real burnout, some real headbutting there. And I got a lot of respect for Payton. I think he's a well of a coach. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't win the Super Bowl this year, even though I thought they should have got a little bit more help on their offensive line and at receiver. That being said, there's always the NFL trade deadline. They can make a move mid-season. Switching gears, NCAA tournament. I didn't like this, not even a little bit. There's talks of it going to, and this may come into play in the next week or so, be finalized, adding 8 teams to the field to make it 76 teams. How much watered down can the season get, man? What's your thoughts about that?
I think that this is a money grab, move by the NCAA. Fix the conference situation first. I feel like there should be relegation in college basketball for some of these teams. Some of these ultra competitive conferences have like 4 or 5 teams that are not competitive on the bottom side of their standings that offset some of these opportunities for these middle major teams to even be in the running. So there's a lot of in between that they should have cleaned up a little bit, that should have swept up before suggesting this as something promising. Now what you do is you make the NCAA tournament longer. So you're not watching it on Thursday, you're going to be watching it on Monday to see who's going to be going into the tournament, and then
water down the actual tournament itself.
Yeah, and on top of that, that team that kind of gets in on this tournament in the beginning of the tournament is probably less likely to end up in the later rounds because of exhaustion or even because the depth is not going to be there. So, they're doing these things, and they need to just kind of fix what they have and make it better and less about money, but that's not what they're doing. And it is what it is.
It's pathetic money grab. Jay Williams pointed out the fact, I think it was ESPN, but he said, it's just going to help the bigger conferences get in these lesser teams,
That's right.
And Colin Coward pointed out the fact that the first round, the average margin of victory is 17 points. So it's just going to be more blowouts in the first round. It's just a total money grab. It has nothing to do with the quality of the game, of the tournament. Totally different situation when you add teams to the college football championship, where you had a team that won a national championship a few years ago, Ohio State, that in the old system they wouldn't even got into the playoff. If it were like a 4-team system, so that worked out. But this, I mean, 60. I thought it was okay at 64. I don't know how they got 68 in there, but it's a total money grab, and it's very unfortunate.
Win your division, win your conference, win your conference, tournament, and get in. And if you're mid-major, then you fight in the third place team of a Power 5 conference to try to get in to the dance, right? So
like that would be okay, and I'm okay with like the regular season winners of the conferences getting in addition to the conference winner. Maybe the same team, but I think that's also. But usually that happens anyways because you got a good record, right? You're talking 68 teams.
I just when we saw these buy-ins, or these teams trying to get into the dance, it's not that it wasn't good basketball. It just wasn't as competitive as it wasn't, and it didn't seem balanced out. These lower seeded teams as they played each other. So, and none of them made it to none of these teams made it to the second round. So
right. So great show tonight. Anything you need to add?
Man, I've been I'm a season ticket holder for the Mets. I've been watching that. That's been a sad story.
It's still early, man. That could still come back.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna try to wrap up some things. I had a few. I'll try to get a guest on, and it didn't work out. So we'll try to get that done, and then we'll go from there. It's what the forkball. I gotta go. You'll see it posted on Facebook and on YouTube, and I'll announce it here in a few days. So.
All right, Mad New Yorker. Appreciate you, buddy. Have a good night. All right, everybody. I will see you Monday. I'll have a recorded show. We'll talk about this weekend. We'll see how these playoffs play out, per se. There's still a chance. Maybe it would be interesting to see if Houston can keep this thing going and push it to 7 games, possibly upset the Lakers. I don't know about that. And plus, this Knicks team, they've got to take care of business. They're up 47 points at halftime. So I'll be talking about what happened this weekend and whatnot on Monday. And, of course, I'll be back here live on Thursday with the Mad New Yorker, not unless something else comes up while I do another live interview. So if you like the show, share the show. Please subscribe to any of our channels. We're on Spotify, YouTube. You can follow me, Robert Butler. I'm verified at rbutler723. I'm verified on the X app, and of course I'm verified on Facebook as well. You can find me on the TikTok app. So have a good night, everybody. We'll see you then. Have a good weekend.